The love light shines on a fair co-ed, the sweetheart of AKL. Her golden hair and the blue of her eyes are the envy of all the campus guys.
My name is Ron Seibold. I'm a graduate of Emporia State University. I was initiated in 1964 into Lambda Chapter, and then went on to work for the National Fraternity for 4 years. Worked under Lou Bacon, and got to know his wonderful wife, Jeanne, and she's here with us today. Thought maybe you could kind of fill us in a little bit on how Lou got involved in AKL.
Well, he went to Iota Chapter at Kansas State in Manhattan and pledged to AKL. Then he left after a semester, before he was initiated, came to Emporia State and started school here. He got a small group of people together and petitioned AKL to become a chapter. And they were in a pretty beat up old house, I understand, was the first one. And then they moved to, I think, a couple of times and got some pretty nice houses. And the fraternity grew and was one of the outstanding fraternities on this campus for a long time. They built 2 new houses that they were going into, and the last one was a large house, and I guess they had trouble keeping it full, and the chapter folded. Then I think over the years they tried to establish it again 2 or 3 times, and then this last year they've been very successful in having a very strong chapter here now.
And we're in the penthouse.
And we were in the penthouse of that chapter house.
Now, shortly after the chapter was installed in Emporia State, a man named George Decay, who was president of the National Fraternity, was very impressed with Lou's work and made him the first National Secretary.
Yes,
First full-time employee for the fraternity.
Yes.
The office, it was here in Emporia.
When Lou first started, the office was in the basement of his mother's house. Then he moved to an office upstairs in one of the buildings downtown in Emporia. And as the fraternity grew, we decided to move to Fort Collins, Colorado, where they were able, with the help of Gary Haxton, were able to build a new building, and so that became the headquarters of AKL. Then, as the fraternity grew, he had the idea of recruiting 5 or 6 outstanding young men from across the country to entice them to work on their master's degree 1 semester, and then use the other semester to travel for the fraternity. And that's when it really started to grow.
As I understand it, when Lou took over as National Secretary, there was only 4 or 5 chapters that were still going.
It was a very small fraternity.
And by the time you left Emporia for Fort Collins, it was up to 20, 25 chapters by that time. So an amazing transformation.
Yes.
With his leadership. One of the people at Emporia who later became the longest serving national president was Ted Andrews.
Yes.
What can you tell us about Ted Andrews?
He was a professor of biology at Emporia State, and he was an advisor to the chapter here before he became national president, and he guided the fraternity for several years.
You graduated from University of Kansas.
Yes, KU.
And then you came here to Emporia to work on your master's degree.
Yes.
And that's where you met Lou.
That's right.
Now, how did you meet Lou?
Well, Lou's sister was a teacher at Highland Park in Topeka, and I was also a teacher there. She kept urging me to meet her brother. So when I came to Emporia State that summer, he called and we had a Coke date and then started going together.
And how long did you go together before you?
Well, we went together about a year, and then we were engaged for a couple, so it was about 3 years after we met that we were married. Yes.
And I understand your honeymoon was kind of a combination honeymoon and
Business trip.
business trip.
Yeah.
They were having the NEC meeting and
They were having an NEC meeting in Glenwood Springs, and so that's where we went for our honeymoon. Well, I think it was Hotel Colorado
Hotel Colorado.
at Glenwood Springs. So.
Yeah, that reminds me of another hotel that was Lou loved very much was the Stanley Hotel
Oh yes, we had several conventions since the Stanley
in Estes Park.
in Estes Park. Yeah, that was a wonderful place to be.
At the time you had the NEC meeting in Glenwood Springs, David Allen
Yes,
was
treasurer.
treasurer.
Yes.
So you've kept in contact with these people through the years.
Somewhat. Ted Burrows, well, we had Christmas cards from him until he passed away. And Ted Andrews, had till he passed away. And Dave Allen, I'm still hearing from. So, and Al Post, we kept in touch with him until he passed away. So, yes.
A lot of national presidents there. One of the national presidents was also a founder. That would be
Gail Cleland.
Gail Cleland. And of course you knew him.
Yes.
What did you think of Gail Cleland?
Well, I remember that he was kind of an inspirational figure and an older man that was kind of the dean of the fraternity, and so respected for that reason. So.
Powerful speaker, wasn't he?
Yes.
Very, very good man.
Then can you imagine little college kids, when they were in school, to be able to talk to somebody that founded their fraternity?
So when you moved to Fort Collins, that was shortly after that, a few years after that, when I went to work for the fraternity. I was one of the interns, and then
Yes.
later took Gary Ty's place when he moved on. One of the things that I remember about that was being roped by Lou into serving as a coach for youth baseball. I think all the interns had to be a coach.
That's right. I think they all did the turn.
That was a requirement. And of course the reason Lou got us involved in youth baseball because he was a commissioner for the city of Fort Collins of youth baseball. And why would he chosen to get involved with youth baseball?
Well, we have 4 sons, and they love to play baseball, and so he wanted to be sure that they had some recreation during the summer. So he started on that, and then got more and more involved.
And your 4 sons are, of course, they're all grown up now. Yeah. Gary's the oldest.
Gary's the oldest, and he lives in Emporia. And he works for the gas company as system analyst. The next boy's name was Jeff, and he retired from the Navy as a captain. He now lives in Boise, Idaho, and he is a cartoonist. Then for the Navy Times. And Steve is a teacher. He teaches science in Des Moines, Iowa. And Brad is a geophysicist, and he works out of Denver.
I have one of Jeff's books.
Oh yes.
What's his character called?
Broadside.
Broadside. Yes. If you're ever at a bookstore, look for Jeff Bacon's Broadside. He's a very published author with his cartoons, and so these are all young men who became very successful. And it's no wonder Lou has been an inspiration to many people.
Yeah, he was. He really did inspire people, I think.
The Enowetok Veterans Association.
I think that he had he was very involved in that and trying to get in touch with all the people that had been on Enowetok. And I think he had 2 national conventions that
he organized.
Yeah. And that was his big thing for a long time.
He sure learned something somewhere along the line about organization and motivating
I know,
people.
He was really very organized, and he was a people person, and he loved people. He loved the fraternity. He really loved that fraternity.
He built it.
Well, that was that was his dream.
Yes.
And so.
When he took over, there was like 4 chapters. By the time he left, there was over 40. He was always so positive.
I think he was so enthusiastic, and he made other people feel enthusiastic too.
And made us believe that we could do anything, that anything was possible. And I think that's maybe why we kind of overbuilt on the housing program, because Lou just thought it was going to go on forever.
That's
and
right.
There would never be any hard
And he
times.
had an opportunity. I think the builder worked with him, and I think he had an opportunity to build these houses, and he did.
He loved the chapter so much, and he wanted to provide the best possible. But unfortunately, in all that was the same time when the fraternity started to have problems, because not just AKL, every national fraternity was.
It was a bad time.
Bad
It was a poor time for fraternities.
Did you ever know Lou to be in a bad mood, or?
I never did. I don't understand. I mean, you'd think that he'd be down sometime, and I don't think I ever saw him down, even when, sometimes things didn't go really well, but he didn't seem to ever be down.
Always positive. Always thought there was a way to make things work and make things happen. Of course, when I was working for Lou, it was during one of the hardest times in the national fraternity system. Fraternities all over the country were.
It was a lean time.
A lean time. The Vietnam War was going on. There was kind of an anti-establishment
I think
attitude.
that the feeling about fraternities wasn't the best at that time.
And I remember getting the mail every morning and wondering if there's going to be enough money to pay all of our salary. I think one of the main reasons that several of us left, and Lou himself left eventually, was it was in the best interest of the fraternity.
That's right. I think that there was just not that much money to go around. That fraternity meant an awful lot to him. It really did. And he was doing it, I think he did it really for the good of the fraternity. So.
Yeah, I think so too. But it went on from there and went to Brawley, California.
And Lou took a new career and became a chamber manager. And so we moved to Brawley, California. Then later on we moved to Longview, Washington, so that we wanted to be close to the ocean. And then when Lou died, I moved back to Emporia to be with where Gary lived. It's kind of nice to think back and remember some of these things that, kind of clear in the back of your mind that you've kind of forgotten about.
It's been almost 40 years.
Isn't that amazing?
I came in when the intern program had recently started up, and there was so much that we all did together. Fishing.
The recreation is great in Colorado, and we really took advantage of it.
We sure did, yeah. And I remember when Lou got his boat.
Yes.
And we all went out. Horsetooth Reservoir, and we would
water ski.
Did a lot of fishing. And I remember we were talking over lunch about how we were at Chambers Lake, all of us, which is a lake up Poudre Canyon, and we were all fishing. When the game warden was going through the campground, we realized that the fishing limit was 6 instead of 10, and we'd all assumed that it was 10. And as he was going from campsite to campsite, we were eating fish like
running into the bush and eating fish. Well, those are fun days.
They were. What else have we missed here? We missed anything?
Oh, the names of some of the people that maybe Spud Bloomberg and Bob Long, Larry Shepard. Some of the names that I still remember.
This is when you were in Emporia and you had just gotten married, or you were still dating probably, and these guys were all part of Lou's buddies that he'd gone to school with. And
John Richards is another name I forgot.
Lon Richards?
John Richards.
John Richards.
And Lon Richards.
Lon Richards.
Too.
And Lon Richards is the one who wrote the Sweetheart song.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time today to meet with.
Well, it's been very nice for me to reminisce a little bit and to appreciate being able to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeanne. It's been wonderful.
I appreciate it very much.
The girl I love to have and hold, whose kiss has me